Ross. That's what you're doing at home?
Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to Makeover Monday, week 50, and we are looking at data this week from Bob Ross. And what a great data set Eva has found for this week. So let's go ahead and get to it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and look at the original data set. I'm sorry, the original visualization. So pretty simple here. It's just looking at the each of the percentage of paintings that contain each of the elements. So at least one tree, at least two trees, etc. As you go down through the different types. Okay, fairly simple data set. You've got the element, so that would be the item in the bar chart. You have the episode number, the title of the episode, and whether or not it was included. So we have a flag that says 1 or 0. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm actually going to go ahead and look at the article as well. Let's see. Okay, so he found out through data analysis and an interview. Okay, he wanted to be consistent and fundamentally personal ideal. Okay. All right, they went from 1983 to 1994. I remember watching it as a kid. Absolutely fantastic show. He painted 381 paintings, and the rest featured a guest, most frequently his son, Steve Ross. Based on images of the paintings, the author of this article coded 67 keywords. Okay, he analyzed the data and then created the bar chart. Okay, very good. All right, so now that you know the basic probabilities of each individual tag, you can also find joint probabilities. So what this means is how often did two of the elements appear together. This is often called, okay, you cannot hear me. Okay. That's not it. Oh boy. Henry's right behind me in the room as well. Okay, can you hear me now, Denise? Hopefully you can. Okay, so one of the things that the author then of this article then wanted to look at was something called joint probabilities. So again, this means how often do two things appear in the same painting, two or more things appear in the same painting. So that's often also called like market basket analysis. You may have heard that before. So that's pretty typical in retail. When I worked at Coca-Cola, I used to do a lot of work in that area. And it was basically a way to understand consumers and what combinations of things do they buy together. So for example, if they buy a 12-pack of Coca-Cola, what else do they buy? They might buy bourbon, they might buy cookies, they might buy chips, something like that. So same idea here. Which combinations of these things, which combinations of these elements were in the same paintings. So yeah, so we'll look at that in a bit because the data set actually isn't structured properly in order to be able to look at that. So we'll have to do a bit of data preparation within Tableau itself. First thing I'm going to do is try to recreate this bar chart. So I'm going to connect to the data. And okay, very simple, whether or not it's been included. Now, the whether or not it's been included is just a 1 or a 0, so I'm just going to drag that up and make it just make it a flag, a 1 or a 0. So I can start by just filtering down to the ones, because I only want to know the ones that were included. I could look at the element, and then I'm going to sum up the number of times it was included. Okay, and we can see tree, we have 361. Let's see what we have over in the original. So 91%. So we need to look at so the number of episodes as well. Oops. So if I just do a count distinct on episode, so we have 403 episodes. So if I do 361 divided by 403, I get 90%. So I suspect the reason there's a difference is because the author has probably taken out the episodes that were done by another person. So, but there were also some episodes of The Joy of Painting where they painted alongside each other. So I don't know exactly which episodes were painted by somebody else. So I'm not going to filter out anything in the data set because I just don't know that. So so I could say something like guest painters on The Joy of Painting. There we go. So this tells us all of the guest painters. So it says from time to times to paint with him on the. So the thing that confused me here is it says to paint with him on the show. So it's hard for me to know whether they were the only painter or not. So I'm not going to filter out any of these because I'm not sure. So for example, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 13 of them were his son. And I think I said the number was, so 13, so if I did 390, so 361 divided by 390 would be 93%, which is still higher than the original article, so 91%. So I'm not quite sure which way that needs to go. So, right. So yeah, so I'm going to start by just creating this. If I want to know the percent of episodes, percent of episodes, I would just simply do the sum of included divided by the count distinct. Come on, cancel by the count distinct of episode. Yep. And this will then give me a percentage. So I'm going to set the default number format to be a percentage to 0 decimals. And now if I put that here, okay, so that's not right. Episode element. Okay, what did I do there? So sum of included divided by count distinct of episode. Okay, that's weird. Well, I could just make this just to fix it. I'm just going to make it a level of detail expression. I'm not quite sure why that isn't working, but okay, there we go. 90%, 84%. So let's see what it looks like in the original. So 91, 85, 56, 53. Oh, I might be pretty close now. Okay, so maybe we do have the right number. So this would basically be the original, and I could just say the paintings of Bob Ross, the paintings of Bob Ross, percentage containing each element, percentage of episodes containing each element. So I could be done with it there. Maybe make this bold about 18, maybe make this about like 12 or 11. And there we go. So we would be pretty much done at that point. But that's kind of boring. So yeah, now if I were going to finish this up to clean it up the way that they have it, notice how there's no grid lines or anything. So I'm just going to format the sheet to get rid of the grid lines, get rid of the 0 line, get rid of the axis rulers. And there we have a nice clean bar chart. Let me make these a bit bigger. Oops, too big. Come on, keep moving. There we go. And if I want to pick this color, so I'm just going to go to more colors and then use the color picker here. And now we've got pretty much the same, looks like the colors. Isn't that interesting how you do a screenshot like this and messes it up. So what I'm going to do is if I want to get the exact colors, I can go to, where is it? It's under design and then couleurs.co. And I'm going to start the generator. And I can actually upload a picture. So URL, let's see, I can copy the image address, URL, come on. Oops, that didn't work right. paste the URL in, and then this should give me the colors. Okay, so the first color I want to pick is going to be that one there, and I'll just hit next. Open in the generator. Okay, so here's the color for that. So I could just copy that. I'm not sure why Tableau doesn't pick it up right, but it doesn't. And more colors, paste, and now we've got the right color. So we've matched the original visualization. And I'll show you, I'll include a link to this coolors.co. It's a great website. Okay. So we've recreated that, and then like it looks like if I look at how big this image is, so I can inspect it. Come on. And yep. So it is what, 575 by 886. So if I want to create a dashboard, 575, 886, and just drop this into the dashboard. What did I say it was? 866? Is that right? 886. 575, 886. And I can make it fit entire view. And there we go. So now we've got something like that. And it looks like they're only including, so it goes down to bridge. I wonder why it only goes down to bridge. Oh, so he's excluded everything less than 1%. So I could then filter, oops, not format. I want to go ahead and filter, and at least 2%, 0.02. And then go here, and now we should have something very similar. And then I'm going to format the background. Maybe make it gray. Actually, I want this to be transparent, and then I'm going to format the dashboard. I don't know why I'm bothering doing this because I'm not going to use it anyway. Okay, so now it looks more like, kind of like a 538 type visualization. Maybe put a light border around it so we can see it a bit better. Oop, that didn't work because I need to put a border around the sheet. Format. Let me see. Format. Oh no, I'm doing it wrong. I need to go to layout, pick the sheet, and then put a border on. There we go. Oops, that's the background color. The border, maybe something like that. And now you can see the little border there, and then maybe add a bit of padding on the inside. And there we go. So now we've got kind of the original done again. Without, I would need to put like the credits and everything at the bottom. But that's one way to do it. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look at maybe a different way to look at how many times each element was in an episode is maybe to do a rank. So I'm going to drag episode to the columns, and I'm going to put the element on the detail, and then I'm going to do a rank on the sum of included. Okay, and then I want to edit my table calc, and I want it to compute the other way around, so by elements. And then if I change my mark type to a line, oops, that's a bar, I would make it a line. And then I need to flip my axis around. Okay, and there we go. So now we can see, oh no, I don't want to do episode, I want to do it by season. Because I want to count up the number of seasons that each one of these was in. And let me I also need to have the included filtered down to just one. Okay, there we go. So yeah, so this isn't right. So you'll see the seasons, it's the first 3 characters. So I'm just going to create a new calculated field, season, and it's the left of episode, and then the first 3 characters. So let's put that here instead. Okay, that's better. I could maybe rotate the label to make sure it's visible, and then hide the indicator. Okay, so now that we have that, if I show the highlighter for the element, for example, if I look at boats, I could see, you see I only have 2 dots for boats. That's because it only appeared in those 2 seasons. Building, circle frame, okay, so and so on. So clouds is going to be everywhere, conifer trees, cumulus clouds, farms, you see farms only appeared once. And if I go to Steve Ross, you can see when Steve Ross painted, or the sun, etc. Tree, of course, is number 1. More than one tree is number 2, etc. So the rank might be is kind of a neat way to look at this as well. All right, so this is my rank, and this is just my bar chart, or maybe I'll just call this the frequency. Okay, so we got that, and we've got the rank. So let's now look at, so if I go back to the article, it talked about this joint probabilities. So how many things, how do we know which things matched up with others? As far as kind of this part of the data set itself, there's not really a whole heck of a lot to it. You know, I could also, so if I have the episode, I could pull out the episode number. So I could call this episode, and that would be the right 3 characters. Oh, so this would be, I'll just uppercase it. So I could put maybe episode here, season here, and I could look at, you know, maybe the number of things that were included. Okay, and then we just get something like that. So fit width. So nothing particularly interesting. It does look like, you know, season. Let me just filter out the ones just in case. Yeah. Okay, there we go. So you see this one right here, season 15, episode 4. It looks like there was nothing included, which seems a bit odd, but we'll go with it. So if I take the include back off, you'll see it says 0. So nothing was included, or at least none of the elements that were coded were included, I should say. All right, so this doesn't really reveal any patterns or anything like that. If I wanted to clean this up a bit, maybe what I would do is, I think I want to use more like a kind of a nature sort of color palette, perhaps. So maybe if I go with, what if I go with like browns? Let's see what that looks like, because that reminds me a bit more of nature. That's okay, not particularly great. Let's see what other color palettes I have here that might be useful. Maybe the purple to green. Let's try that. That's okay. Or maybe purple to orange, purple to brown. Okay, but again, you should only use a diverging color palette if there's like a natural midpoint. So maybe for me, the natural midpoint is going to be the average or something like that. Okay, so nothing really useful here. So let's see if we can look at this now joint probabilities analysis. So to do this, I need to join to the data set again. And I'm going to create a new connection because I need to join the data to itself. So once I have this in here, so element by episode, I'm going to just double click on my data source there, my table name there, and it brings me into the join view. And I want to join the data to itself. So I'm going to drop it in again, and I would just want to join by the element. Okay, and notice how I get the same things repeated, but I get different element names. And you'll see for every episode how many things were also in that, how many, every time an apple frame was painted, how likely was it that, you know, something else was painted. So I think I have that. I think I have that right. No, no, sorry, I'm doing this wrong. This should be on episode, not element. Episode. There we go. That's better. So you can see if I go down till I find like a 1 here, or that's okay. So included 1. So this tells me that a tree was included, but an aurora borealis was not, because I see a 0 here. So I want to look for something that has that where they both are a 1, where it was. Anyway, I could show you what that does. So anyway, that's how you would join the data. And I'm going to call this my, that doesn't matter. I'll just leave the name as that. And if I grab the element here, and I'm going to grab the element again from over here, you'll see that I now get like the cross product. So every time apple frame appears, how often do these other things appear? So I only want them to appear when both of these are included. So again, I'm going to move these up because they're more like booleans. So I'm going to create a new calculated field and call it appeared in both. Let's see, or sorry, included in both. And I'm going to say included equals 1 and included equals 1. And if I drop that onto the filters and choose true, you'll now see this is the only, when if an apple frame was painted, these are the other things that were most likely, or that were also painted. So I'm going to just drop in now. I'm going to do a count on this here. So let me do a sum of included. And you'll see when an apple frame was the primary element, a bridge was the secondary element one other time. So if we go down to trees, because that'll probably be the best one to look at here. Okay. So when there's one tree, how likely is it that there's a second tree? So if I go down to trees, you'll see 337 times there was likely to be a second tree. There was another example I was going to look at. What was it? Oh, that's okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to build like a matrix chart. So I can see all of the cross-section of each of these elements. Let me go back to the top. And I'm going to sort my elements in both cases by the number that were included. So for element, I'm going to sort in descending order by the field included. So trees, this is the order that the primary elements were included. And then I'm going to sort the second one, but this one I'm going to sort by the field, the other included fields. So included from the second data source. Okay, there we go. So now we can see we've got 367 or 361, etc. So these going across are the same as these going down, but we don't need it in both directions. So what I want to do is I only want to include, first off, I want to get rid of any of them where they're the same. So I don't care about the cross section of tree and tree, trees and trees, etc. So I'm going to create a filter for that. So exclude same element, and I'm going to say that equals that. And you'll see what I mean. If I put that on color, you'll see that these ones that are directly on the diagonal are the ones that are the same. So I don't want those, so I'm going to just choose false for that. Okay, that gives me a big blank down the middle. But now I only need this. Let me show it as an entire view. That might be easier to see. So that's not really that easy to see, but let me move this to color. You can see we've got kind of this diagonal going down, and this triangle at the top is identical to this triangle at the bottom. It's just flipped, it's just mirrored. So let me switch that back to the text and then go back again. Okay, there we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count these elements as they go down. So I'm going to call this my element index. And this is going to be an index calculation. And I'm going to tell Tableau to compute it using element. Hit OK, and I'm going to make it discrete. So when I put this into the rows, you'll see this just counts down 1 through whatever. Let's do that again, but for the other element, element 2 index. So index, and this time I'm going to default the table calc to the other element, the element from the second, so kind of going across make that discrete and put that on the columns. So what I want to do is I want to only include the ones where element index is less than element to index. So let me create a new calculated field, and what would be a good way to describe this? Let's see, element. I'll just element index is less than element index 2. I don't know a better way to do it. So I'm going to say element index is less than element index 2. Hit OK. And now if I put that on color, you'll see I get one color for the top. And let me move this to the detail. And if I make this entire view, you'll see I get one color across the top and another color down the bottom. So I only want the ones at the bottom. So I'm going to just keep only on those. And now you see I've got a nice little triangle. Now that I have those, I could take my two index fields, and I don't need those anymore, so I'm just going to remove them both. And I can remove it from color. I just wanted to show you how that would work. So now if I put included onto color, you'll see I've got this nice little triangle going down here. But again, something happened here, so included in both. So I'm getting numbers here again for some reason. So let me edit this. Oh, you know what I could do? I can get rid of that, and then I can, let me see. So I want to get rid of these ones on the diagonal again. Let me make it standard view. So all these ones here, because they're all the same, so this is mountain and mountain. So what I could do is in my element index, so let me edit that. I want to say element index 1 is less than or equal to, I think that'll do it. There we go. No, but I don't want that. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just leave it like that, but the ones that are the same, I'm going to just get rid of those. So let's see. So I'm going to kind of make these blank, I guess is maybe a better way to say it. So let me, what I could probably do is if I change my color palette to a, let me just pick something that's, I don't know, discrete, doesn't really matter. No, let's do, sorry, a diverging color palette. That's not diverging. Let me see here. Let me just pick Makeover Monday. And I'm going to start it at 0. And I'm going to center it at 1. And I'm going to make the beginning of it white. Okay, so white. Oops, that's not right. White. Okay, now will that do it? Okay, so see, it still makes it slightly gray. So I need to figure out then how to get rid of those. So I'm going to take my, so I'm going to put my index fields back in here again, because that's going to help me figure out what's going on. So I don't want them when they're equal. So I need to look at, yeah, so I need to just say element index is 1 is less than element index 2. But why am I still getting the ones there? Okay. See, that doesn't make sense to me because this is 1 and that's 1. Okay, let me try exclude. Yeah, so that's fine. We want to do that. Okay, so I'm doing something wrong here, included in both. Yeah, so we want that. Let's see. What I could probably do. Let's see. Why is this not working? Some have included. So these are null. So maybe what I'll do is I'll filter to the non-nulls. Let's see what that does. See, that still leaves me a color here, which is like super, super annoying. So why is it doing that? Okay, let me try it again. Let me edit this. Less than or equal to. Hit OK. Okay, there we go. But I really wanted it to go the other way around, but that's okay. So, yeah. Okay. And I think, yeah, so I actually want element 1, I want these to be switched. So I'm going to flip the chart. But when I flip the chart, it's going to flip all of the numbers. So I need to change my, let's see, I think I need to edit this and switch it to true. That should make it go to the bottom. And then I want this to be less than. Okay, there we go. Oh, that did the same thing. I guess it doesn't matter. But what I want to do is I want to be able to read this across and say, okay, so when a tree is painted, how likely are these other things to be included? So when I hover over the 1, you can see it's 337 times it's been included in when there's been one tree, there's been a second tree. So I'm going to, number of episodes. So I'm going to do count distinct on episode. And I'm just going to put that on label just to make sure I get the right number. But see, I'm not getting the right number here. Okay, so let me edit. Oh, it's because it's splitting the view up. So I need to do the sum and then make this. This is just giving me the overall number of episodes. And I get 403, which is good. And then I want to, percent of, so what would be a way to say this? So maybe I'll just call it joint probability. And that's going to be the sum of the included divided by the number of episodes. Okay, so let's get rid of that and put that onto my label. And I get 83%, but so default properties, number format, make it a percentage. Okay, and then, so I don't want the sum of included, I want that, my joint probability. Or actually, what I think I'm going to do, I still want the included in my tooltip, so I'm going to just highlight both of these fields, and then right-click and swap, and it'll just change their places. But the included I want on detail. I just wanted to show you that little swap trick. And I'm just going to hit the T on the text shelf. So this is telling me that 84% of the time when there was one tree, there was likely to be a second tree. Okay. So, and I think that's different than what I saw over here though. So what did I do here that was different? Percent of episodes included was 1. So included needs to be 1. That's okay. And then included needs to be 1. So that's not okay. So those aren't going to change anything. So that's fine. Yeah, because my included in both calculation accounts for that, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay, so these are all of the combinations of things. You see we have some nulls here because there's no, those were not included. Right. So hopefully that is starting to make a bit of sense. All right. Okay, change filter. So change filter and choose true. Okay, I think my filter to element. So somebody's saying to change my filter to be, what is it? Index is, so element index. I'm just going to try something. So Michael Nahon is greater than or equal to, let's see, element index 2 minus 1. So I think that's going to give me the same result. Choose true. And that flips it around the other way. That's okay. So edit filter, choose false. Yeah, so that's not what I was looking for. Okay, so there we go. So this is kind of our probability analysis. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to just kind of copy this and make this the title of this sheet. What is the probability of two elements being in the same painting? Something like that. Maybe I'll make this a bit bigger. Okay, so and I think I need to make this a bit more instructive, so I'm going to just put some text in here. It says if A is painted, let's see, so I want to kind of say something like so let's get rid of the I'm trying to figure out how. That's okay. I don't think I really need to do that. Hopefully that's intuitive enough. What I was trying to say is like something like that this is the first one and this is the second one. So yeah, that's okay. So let's go ahead and clean this up a bit. So I'm going to maybe put some borders around it, maybe a bit lighter color. And my label, I'm going to center align. Maybe I'll get it to match the mark color as well. No, that's okay. And let's align it to the center. Where's my alignment? Oh, there we go. All right, and then maybe I want to look at, so if I put this in a dashboard now, this is probably going to have to be huge. So let's see, dashboard. And right now it's 1000 by 800, so I'm just going to get the sheet in there first. And let's see, I could get rid of that. 0, 0, oops. 0, 1000 wide, 800 tall. Okay, you see it doesn't fit, but if I make it fit entire view, it just kind of like squashes the whole thing up and it looks pretty terrible. So let's see how big, oops, that's not what I want to do. Let's go back to dashboard and let's make it a bit wider. So 1500, 1500, and let me again make it fit entire view. So it still doesn't really look that good. And you've got a lot of them here that are just really small. So if I, for example, if I click on that, I've only got 44. So, okay, so let's go back here. I'm going to actually do my tooltip here. So when a is painted, there is a of a being in the same painting. Oh no, wrong thing here. So this should be so when I hover over, I can see when a conifer is painted, there's a 17% chance. Oh, I need to change that. 17% chance when a tree is painted. Okay, maybe I should also say something like a has been painted. Painted in episodes. Shoot, I really hate how this coloring stuff works. So that should be that in bold. That bold. Okay, I think that's probably fine. Let's make this maybe bigger, make this one a bit bigger. And let's see what that looks like. Okay, I think that tooltip's good enough. But now I kind of only really want to see maybe down to, I don't know, maybe how many that's a guest. I wonder if I should eliminate the guests and the Steve Ross. How many is that? So if I go back to my list of episodes and elements is guest and Steve Ross. Oh, why did that? Oh, okay, and then included is one. Yeah, so there's 22 episodes where there's either been a guest or Steve Ross. So element. Yes, there's been both. Oh, okay. So if it's a guest, it can also be Steve Ross. So let me do keep only on that. So there's been 11 episodes where Steve Ross has been in the episode. Okay. Anyway, but Steve Ross is. Yeah. All right. So that's not very important for the analysis. The question I was going to wonder is, do we need, because they don't really paint guests and they don't really paint Steve. Yeah, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to element. I want to exclude the guest and Steve Ross. Let's exclude both of those. And hopefully that got rid of them. So guest is still here. So I need to get rid of it in both places. None. Okay. Okay, so that should have gotten rid of guest and Steve Ross on both axes. Right. So maybe I should have a minimum number of times that something is shown up. So if I go here, and let's put sum of included on the detail. So waterfalls, so maybe I'll say something will have had to appear maybe 25 times or something like that. So what I could do then is basically I only want to look at the top 25. I think I could probably, because this goes, yeah, so I'm going to say I only want the top 25. So I know where it was included 25 or more times. So let me try something here. Let me do included. Okay, so let me filter. It has to be at least 25 times. Okay, so how many times here? So there's 32 episodes. So oceans have been in 32 episodes, but it looks like it only occurs when there's been also been clouds. So where's ocean over here going across? And 8%, 15%. Okay, so I think that's okay. So how does that look now? If I scroll down, it's awfully big. So let me see if I can make it a bit smaller now. So okay, so let me. And now I'm gonna, I think because I can't really read this, let me see if I make it wider, can I read that text? So see, these words are so long that I would have to make it like crazy wide to get to be able to see everything. So Snow Mountain, 1600, even more than that, 1700. Unless let me format these. So format, let me make them 8 point. Make these 8 point, and then maybe I can make it a bit smaller. So that gets cut off. So 1550. Let's try that. Okay, so 1550 looks okay. So then I need to make the height 1550 to try to make them look relatively square. Okay. Oh, but mountains is now cut off. Shoot. 1600. Okay. Now we can see the whole thing here. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to show my caption. And let's make it 8. And let's see, this is data source is 538. 5. And let's see, created by. And I did see an example that I thought looked pretty good as well. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, so let me bring this over here. So this one by Satoshi Gineko is similar. I don't think I would call it a basket analysis, but it's kind of a you know, it's a similar idea. It looks like he's doing top 10 out of the 403 paintings. But this one, so I'm going to go ahead and include him in Uninspired By because I did see his first. I had the idea, but I want to also make sure that he gets credit. Satoshi Gineko. Satoshi Gineko. And I also thought it would be useful for you to see how to build a chart like this. So you can see all of these are null here. So yeah, so I guess the problem is when I look at least 25, it becomes a bit of a mess. So what if I change that? So let me edit this and make it at least maybe 40. And then let's see. Okay, so that's still isn't great. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, see, 25 doesn't look that great. Okay. Let's see, for those elements that featured included in at least 25 paintings, what is the probability of 2 elements being in the same painting? Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so, but is 25 the right number now? So let me put this in entire view and see what it looks like. So I think this is like entirely too large. So what if I make this 50? I'm just going to hit apply. So rocks should be 15 and 14. Rocks is 15 and 14. So that's a snowy mountain and deciduous. Snowy mountain. Yes, so let's see, something happens here when I do that. Okay, so element. So I need to get rid of that. Yeah, because I'm missing a lot of numbers then. So that's okay. Maybe I'll just leave it nice and big. That's fine. Let me change the label to be maybe 8 point, or even 7 is probably fine. And now I'm going to play around with some colors. So I wonder if there is a most frequent colors in Bob Ross paintings. Okay, primary colors, Bob Ross oil colors. Wait, that's not it. Okay. Oh, look, there's a Bob Ross color palette. Oh, pretty cool. Oh, that's neat. So, right. So maybe we'll pick. Maybe we'll do kind of a diverging color palette so we can see kind of a flow from largest to smallest. So maybe I'll go brown will be my lower color. So let's do a diverging. Doesn't really matter what I pick here. So we'll have brown be the lower color. Oops, okay. And then let's make this green the upper color. I like the green because it reminds me of like a forest. Okay. And you can see most of them are up there. Okay, that's not particularly useful. What does that look like now? Just a lot of brown. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is, so my index field, if I put my index here, no, my index 1, yeah, element index here, maybe I'll just pick the top 25 of those. So filter, let's say none. That's the top 25 of those. Okay, and then this still goes down to a long list. So maybe I'll do the same here. So element 2, and I'm going to go to, let's see, 2, oops, 25. Okay, so now we've got 24 by 24, which is correct. And what does that look like now? Okay, that's a bit better. And what I could do is where there is nothing intersecting, instead of saying null, I want it to say 0%. So I'm going to create a, actually I'm just going to wrap this joint probability in a zn function. And hit OK. And now those will all show up as 0% because they were null. All right, so I'm going to play around with this center point now. And let's see, the center, let's maybe make it, let's see what it looks like at point. Now I'm just doing this for cosmetics. Use full color range. How about that? What is that? How's that? Let me see, let me shrink this up a bit. Okay. All right. And if I do just a, let me try just a single color. So let me see. So what's my green here? Okay, it was already there. Okay. Okay, I think I maybe like just the single green color. What do you think, folks? Do you like the single green color, or do you like the blue? So okay, let me see what. Right. Okay. Let me try it with the brown just to see. Oops. I'm going to try it with the brown just to see what it looks like. Dark sienna. I think I like the green better. Feels more like nature. Okay, so that's that. So let me save. And I want to save this to Makeover Monday 2020, week 50. The paintings of Bob Ross. Save. Come on. And then I'm going to, when I publish this, I'll go ahead and leave this other stuff in here just so you have it if you want it. So I need to create an extract. And that's fine there. You'll see it makes a very big data set when you, because when I join those together, it creates every element with every other element. So it does kind of a, I forget what that's called, but extract. Okay. Now, yeah, so that's that. Now, there is this kind of custom color palette. Would it be useful? So I've done that now. Would it be useful for you all to see how to add this color palette into your Tableau preferences file? So what I mean by that is when I go to the colors, would it be useful for me to see each of the Bob Ross colors as like its own color palette? So let me show you. So if I put, like, for example, if I put, where's my season field? Here. If I put the season here, and I want to also color by season, something like that, when you open up the color palette, you can see, you would see like kind of Bob Ross as a color palette. And then maybe I could create a custom sequential color palette that has that green in it. So would that be useful? Okay, so let me go ahead. Let me delete this sheet. So to do that, I actually have to exit out of Tableau. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna save, and then I'm gonna close Tableau. Okay, and then what you need to do is you need to open up. So on in your My Tableau repository, there's a file called preferences, and I just open that up in something like Sublime Text or some kind of text editor. And you'll see if you open this for the first time, if you've never touched it, this whole file is going to be blank. But you can add in your own custom color palettes. So for us, I'm going to, for example, when it says type regular, so here, that means those are just like your distinct color palettes. So so I'm just going to copy that, and I'm going to go down to the bottom of my file and add another one in. So I'm just going to call this one Bob Ross. And then you just have the simple HTML that you need to put in here. So once I build one, I can just copy and paste each of these colors. So I'm just going to paste, and it just takes a bit of time. Now, this is probably pretty boring watching somebody do this, but that's okay. And then I need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more. So let's see, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to go here. Okay, so that's going to be kind of my discrete color palette. Now, if I want to do like I want to do a color palette that's like just a single color like I did with the green, you need to do what's called an ordered sequential. And there's also order diverging if you want to have it as a diverging color palette. So I'm going to copy that and again use another one as an example because it speeds up the process. So I'm going to paste that one here. And I'm going to call this one Bob Ross Green. What does he call it? He calls it sap green. And I'm going to start at maybe white. So maybe I'll put the F's as my white. And then I'm only going to put 2 colors in here. You can put as many as you want, but I'm just going to go white to green. Okay, and then just save that file. And then when I open Tableau back up, and I can continue. You have to have Tableau closed because now that I've started Tableau, if I edit this preferences file, they won't show up. So did that kind of make sense? I know I went pretty quick through that, but basically you open up the preferences file and you just put the code in. It's very simple. Okay, and I can, would it also be useful if I put a link into my preferences file, because I'm more than happy to share that with you if you are interested in it. Let's see. Okay, so now if I go to this, if I go back to this sheet and I go to my color palettes, you'll see that I will now, if I go down to the bottom, I have one called Bob Ross Sap Green. And it goes from white to that green. I can hit apply, and there we go. Now it doesn't look as good as it did before because, if I go back, you'll see I have a better shade of green in the middle. So the shade of green that Tableau provided halfway in between was good. So if I want to expand that color palette out, what I will do then, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this color here, my green color. I'm going to go over to my couleurs color palette, and I'm just going to click on one of these. It doesn't really matter. And then what I can do is I can then click on the, let's see, the shades of these. So let's see, so that's the one I was at. But I want to, it's not what I wanted to do. I want to do a slightly lighter color of that. So let me just move that over. And I think I have an option, create a collage view. Okay. View as gradient. Okay, that's not really what I want to do here either. So let's make this maybe a very light gray. So what would be a very light gray here? I could probably, see, it's hard for me to know what color that is at the beginning of the range. But anyway, so I could use that Bob Ross sap green, but it's, I could probably actually find something close to that gray by just clicking here and then maybe just picking one of these grays. So F1, F1, F1. Okay, so let me try that. So I'm going to go back to my palette and I'm going to put F1, 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 and let's see if that makes a difference. So I'm going to close Tableau, not going to save. And let me save my preferences file in case I forgot. Open Tableau back up. Yeah, so so with shapes, you actually don't have to close Tableau with shape files. So let's see. All right, I could show you the shapes as well. So let me just do this first. So let me go back to this sheet and let's see how the color palette looks this time because I made the beginning that kind of grayish color. yeah, so it's still not as good as kind of the one that Tableau generated when I picked the. So I'm going to stick with the Tableau one. But anyway, that's how you could do that. And if I go over to this, let's see, where did I create? So for example, I've got my seasons here. If I want to put the episode on color, I could then on this color palette, I will now have one called. If I go to the bottom, I've got this one called Bob Ross. And if I just hit assign, okay, then I get all those colors. So now I have a Bob Ross color palette as well. Okay, so let me delete this sheet. So with shapes, so I'm going to save before I do that. So maybe if I find where was that before? What was that other? I think it was this one here. So let's say I want to have this little Bob Ross picture as a shape. Make sure you only use shapes that you are allowed to use, but I'm going to save the image as. And inside of your My Tableau repository, you also have another folder called Shapes. And you can either just add it to one of the folders you have, or I'm going to create a new folder called Bob Ross. And I'm going to save it. It saves it as a GIF, which I don't know. I'll see if that. I've never tried a GIF before, but let's see if that works. Let me just try. I'm not really sure what else to search for. Images. Let me just try Bob Ross icon. Probably because he is an icon, it's not going to show up. Okay, so let's see if I can find one. Find a picture here. Well, let's just use the one that I have. Let's see if it works. So in your shapes file, so let's say I want to do, I'm going to filter down to his son. Let's just assume his son looks like him. So I'm going to go to, what is element, and I'm going to choose just Steve Ross. And I'm going to make it a shape. And I'm going to put the element onto the shape shelf. Okay, and you'll see I just get a circle now. Let me just fit it to entire view. And if I go to my shape shelf, you'll see it lists all of my shape palettes here, but I don't see one called Bob Ross. But because these are shapes, I can just hit this reload palettes button. And now when I click on it, I can see Bob Ross, and I could just assign Bob Ross to that, hit OK, and now we have Bob Ross in there. So again, you should only use images that that you have permission to use, so I wouldn't do that. Okay, I guess that's it. So hopefully you found that useful. I enjoy creating these kind of market basket analysis type charts. They're really useful and do a really good job of showing relationships in the data. So yeah, I guess that's it. Everybody have a great day. Bye.